In this video, I'm going to show you how to self-pop your hips for instant pain relief. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, Dr. Rowe coming to you from SpineCare in St. Joseph, Michigan. In this video, I'm going to go over easy, effective self-mobilization or self-popping techniques for your hips. All of these exercises hit the hips just a little bit differently, so go through them all and take what is most effective at getting more range of motion, more self-mobilization out of your hips. As a bonus, all of these exercises can be done at home and may give quick pain relief, even in as little as 30 seconds. So let's get started and self-pop the hips right now. So here is a really easy hip self-mobilization technique that you can do in bed or on the floor. I like to call this one the hip smasher. It's a two-part exercise. In the first part, what we're going to do is known as the butterfly smash. So I'm going to take my legs, I'm going to put my feet together like this, and then I'm going to keep the feet flat on the bed or the floor. This will start to put the hips into external rotation, that is taking it outwards. What we want to focus on is taking the knees right here and then just winging them out as much as you can. Let gravity take them. You can put your hands behind your head like this or use a pillow too if you need that for your neck. But you just want gravity to take it. Hold this for about 30 seconds. You're going to feel a very deep stretch into the hips, inside the legs, into the groin. From there, what I'm going to do is then on the next repetition, go into a passive stretch with it. So I'm going to take my hands like this, put them on the inside of the legs, and then press into it to cause more external rotation into the hip. And this becomes a great stretch. This should not cause discomfort. If it does, please back off a little bit to the point where you only feel a good stretch. You want to hold this one for at least 20 seconds, but work your way up longer, 30 seconds if you're able to. You're just going to relax and then repeat this up to 5 times. With each repetition, drive the knees down a little bit further. Take your hands and press into it because it's only going to put more motion into the hips to hopefully get them to self-pop. On the second part, let's focus a little bit more on internal rotation, that is bringing the hip inward. I'm going to be using just an average hand drying towel. Whatever side that we're focusing on, let's put the towel on the outside of the knee. The foot is going to be flat, the knee is going to be bent just like this. I'm going to take the other leg and then place the ankle on the outside of that knee. Press into it for a stable anchor point. The goal with this one is to take this leg right here, the one with the ankle on the knee, to drive inwards like this. So what I'm doing is rotating my leg like this inwards, and this is going to cause the hip to go into internal rotation. And I really feel it on the outside of the hip. With this stretch, you want to focus on feeling it into the hip. So drive that over as much as you can until you get a very comfortable stretch. Let's hold this one for 20 seconds, relax, take a breather, and then repeat up to 5 times. With each repetition, go a little bit more with it because it's only going to put more motion in there again to hopefully get that hip to self-pop or to self-mobilize. This hip self-popping technique is known as the stick method because I'm going to be using a large beat-up broomstick, but you just need something long and sturdy. A PVC pipe works. If you don't have any of that, go out in the yard and grab a big stick. We can do this one in bed or on the floor, just lie on your back. If you need something for your neck, just place a pillow underneath for extra comfort. But what I want to do is start off with my knee at about 90 degrees. I need a stick long enough that I can grab on one end, place it behind the knee, and then hook on it with my foot and toes just like this. That way we have a nice lever that we can really do nice, slow, controlled motions. This exercise is a 2-part one. So in the first part, I'm going to focus a little bit more on rotation or twisting motions of the hip to get it to self-release. Let's just start off by grabbing the end of the stick, placing the knee at 90 degrees, and then twisting it out like this. So I'm taking the end of the stick and just going out with it. You're going to feel a lot of good rotation, external rotation into the hip. A lot of muscle, soft tissue starting to fire. Only go to your comfort level. Once we hit that great stretch, let's hold this right here for 20 seconds. From there, you're going to relax, and then you're going to repeat this up to 5 times. This right here, you want to challenge yourself with each one to go out just a little bit further to get that soft tissue stretched out because you might find that it gives that sudden pop, crack, or self-release. On the next one, what I'm going to do is then internal rotation. So I'm going to bring the stick inwards like this, and you're going to feel the muscles get hit just a little bit differently. So again, focus on doing about 20-second holds for 5 repetitions and challenging yourself with each one to just drive in a little bit further to get everything stretched out. In the second part, I'm going to be doing what is known as a push-pull. So I'm going to take the stick and I'm going to place it in between the knees just like this. My knees are roughly bent at 90 degrees. So one leg is going to be closer to you, one knee is going to be further away. The knee that is further away, I'm going to drive into the stick. The knee that is closest to you, I'm going to drive into the stick, but it's going to go away. So that causes a push-pull phenomenon. The stick obviously is going to be stronger, so it's going to resist this motion. It's a nice isometric exercise. So press into it in both directions as much as you can comfortably. Hold this for 5 seconds, relax, and then repeat this up to 5 times. With each repetition, try to press into the stick even further. From there, what I'm going to do is just simply do the same thing, but just switch it up on the other side and do the same thing. 5-second holds for 5 times. So here's the knee part. What I'm going to do is take my fist like this, put my legs back up at 90 degrees, but I'm going to drive my knees into my fists. And I don't know if you're going to hear this, but I got a very good release right there into my right hip. So I'm pressing in as much as I can for about 5 seconds, relaxing, and doing this for 5 times. And if this does bug your hands, what you can do at that point is use a pillow or a towel instead. But it's just a good way to really go in there, put good hip motion in there, reduce some pain, and get that self-release that you're looking for. This hip exercise is one of my personal favorites because it works so many muscle groups in addition to helping the hip. It's going to target the glutes, buttocks, low back, piriformis. It's known as a seated figure 4, or if you're into yoga, a seated pigeon pose. Let's start off in a chair. Let's slide towards the edge and then have very good upright posture. Whatever side that we're focusing on, we're going to try to bring the leg up just like this to form a figure 4. So if you look down, it should look like a figure 4. The goal is to have the leg come down like this to the point where you could balance a pop can on it. Some people will notice that it kind of sticks up just like this. So if that's the case, just let gravity take it down very slowly. Also, if you do have difficulty getting into that position, just straighten one leg, put the other over like this, grab the pant leg, slide it up, and then slide the heel back towards you. So the movement from here is very easy. In the first part, since we are going to be focusing a little bit more on the hip, what I'd like to do is just kind of put a little bit of body weight into the knee. This will cause a passive stretch, bringing the hip into external rotation. Only to your comfort level. This should not cause any pain or discomfort. What I want to do is hold this position for about 20 seconds. I'm going to relax, and then I'm going to do this up to 5 times. Again, if that hip is very tight and locked up, you might feel that quick knuckle crack release into the hip very, very quickly. But I try to do this one for 5 complete repetitions. From there, what I want to do is a more dynamic movement. So that is going through different ranges of motions to target the hip to try to get it to self-release. So from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend forward from the waist. Don't round the back with this one, but bend forward from the waist, and you're going to feel the hip and the glute buttock get hit just a little bit differently. Do this for about 3 to 5 repetitions for holding for about 20 seconds. From there, you can then experiment with different motions. So as I lean forward, what I'm going to do is then I'm going to turn towards the left, kind of rotating my body. All of these motions activate the muscles around the hip just a little bit differently. So you want to do this one and then go all the way towards the right. You can also do a lateral bend. So when I go forward, I'm going to tilt towards one side. Notice if any of these motions hit the hip just a little bit differently, like it's really just targeting tight, achy muscles that might just be causing that more or less to be locked up. And if you get that to release, you might find that, again, you'll get a self-pop very, very quickly. But target different motions, go with what you feel is the most effective, and I hope that gets the hip released very quickly. And whatever you do on one side, always switch to the other to keep them both in balance. One of the easiest ways to self-pop or self-mobilize your hips is to use banded traction. I'm going to be using an ordinary pull-up band. You can buy these locally at a sporting goods department. You can also buy them online. If you would like to buy them online, I will leave a link in this video's description. What I'm going to do is also take a hand drying towel, tie a large knot, because I'm going to place it underneath a door just like this. So you want a towel, I should say a knot large enough that it won't slip underneath that door, because at that point it will be a stable anchor point. So after we have the band secured on the other side of the door, let's take another towel, wrap it around the other side of the band for comfort, place it behind the knee of the hip that we're focusing on. With this decompression exercise, we're going to do a little bit more internal, external rotation to get that hip to self-pop or mobilize. So what I'm going to do is just scoot back a little bit until you feel some tension being built into the band. From there, I'm going to turn my leg in like this to the point where my knee is going to be at 90 degrees. My whole leg is flush against the floor. The other leg can just go straight. When you do this also, you want your leg right here, the top portion, to be in line with the band. So don't go at an angle, make sure it's nice and straight. You're already going to feel a great pulling motion being built into the hip. What I want to do is use my body weight to scoot back even more. With this position, we're focusing a little bit more on internal rotation of the hip. So really focus on trying to scoot back as much as you can and allow this band to stretch that hip out. I feel a really good amount right here. So you can hold this for an extended period of time. You can do it for 30 seconds. You can work your way up to a minute or even longer, but when you need a breather, just scoot forward a little bit. You want to do this nice and slow and controlled for about 5 complete repetitions. And with each repetition, scoot back just a little bit more because it's only going to put more traction into the hip and hopefully get it to self-pop or release. After that, let's do a little bit more external rotation. So what I'm going to do from there is then just turn the leg in the opposite direction like this. Again, getting my leg straight with the band. Use your body weight to scoot back, and this again feels like a very good amount of traction being placed into the hip. You want to just do the same thing. You want to do at least 30-second holds, relax when you need it, but always challenge yourself to scoot back a little bit more to get more traction into that hip, and if it's locked up, you might get that immediate self-pop, crack, or release. So here is a great banded traction method that's going to focus on both hips at the same time. I'm going to take the band, I'm going to place it across my lower back slightly above my hips. From there, let's scoot back just until we feel some good tension being built into the band. From there, let's just lie back like this. You can take your hands and support your neck like this, or place a pillow underneath your neck for extra comfort. But we want to scoot back just a little bit more until we feel a good, comfortable stretch into the hips and also the lower back. What I'm going to do next is add a little bit more range of motion into the hips to hopefully get it to self-release with this traction. So my feet are going to be flat, my knees are going to be bent like this. I'm just going to slowly take them to one side. In this case, it's my right side. When you do this, you're going to feel the hips, the soft tissue around the hips, including the muscle, really start to fire. Focus on trying to bring the legs down as much as you can. Hold it for about 3 to 5 seconds, come back up, and then just slowly go towards the other side. You want to do this nice and slow for about 10 to 15 repetitions on each side. From there, scoot back, take a breather, and then on the next repetition, try to drive back a little bit more to increase the traction, and then just simply repeat this. But if it is locked up through one of these motions, you might finally feel that hip start to just self-mobilize or self-release. But with each repetition, again, challenge yourself and do this for 5 complete times. If you liked the video and it helped, please show us your support by giving this video a like and maybe subscribing to our channel too. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching.